So a reminder to those who are listening and maybe new to the process, like we all are. The first round, round of 16, was a best of three series. And actually, before we'll go on, but I do want to ask your take on the best of three after watching. In the conference semifinals and onwards, it is now single elimination, win or go home. So no more three games, no more aggregate, all life or death games. Connor, I want to ask you about your thoughts on the three-game series. Have they changed from when we first spoke?
I don't I don't think they've changed, but it kind of went how I expected it to go, considering there was only one, I guess, upset in the first round. Like only one team that was not the higher seed uh moved on to the next round. So clearly there is a very, very big advantage to being the higher seed and having two home games in a best of three series. I mean, that's kind of obvious to say. Like, yes, obviously the team with two home games has the advantage in a best of three series, but clearly there was a significant advantage there, considering seven of the eight teams that had two home games moved on. Not every team needed two home games, but still, it clearly has a big advantage. I think it's a bit different than. I'm trying to think if was there any team with the a home game in the first game that didn't win their first home game other than St. Louis? I
No,
don't think so. I think they
no.
all won.
Yep.
They all won all their
They
home
all won their
games.
first game.
Yeah. I feel like in a one-off it might be a little bit different. I think the pressure is a little bit different. Maybe it helps in the best of three for these guys to feel like they can have a night off and still be in the competition as opposed to a single elimination where there are no nights off.
Nice.
And I know plenty of people prefer that way, and I'm certainly not against that way. But you kind of get a little bit of best of both worlds and get some single elimination from here on out. You got a little bit of best of three to start things off, but I think at least the nice thing about the best of three sending the higher seeds is we got some great matchups for the next round.
Correct. I enjoyed it. And I'm only going to mention this part of Twitter once because they are making their way up there with USMNT and ProRel Twitter. Is MLS playoff Twitter is annoying out of my mind. I had to stay off Twitter during the playoffs. Like I would get on to tweet about whatever I was watching and then I just closed it because all it was is this format is stupid. There's no reason to do this. Oh my God, what a joke. Blah, blah. Shut up and enjoy the football, man. Like, I've never seen people complain more about extra games. Like, you get to watch teams play. I've never seen people being like, oh my God, I want less soccer. Regardless, the other side of that argument was the first game didn't matter. They can lose 100-0 and nothing matters. I've never ever seen that with any other sport. NBA best of seven, MLB best of seven, hockey best of seven. Not once where they're like, oh man, why are they even playing the first game? It doesn't matter. They can lose 100-0. It doesn't matter. Why is it only here now that it's like, oh, this is stupid because the first game doesn't matter? I think it's a waste of energy and time. Is it Americanized? Yeah. Would I like to see aggregate like where goals matter? Absolutely. Does that mean that the entire first round was stupid and useless? No. There were some awesome games in there. The Columbus Atlanta series was sick. Red Bull broke my heart, but even after the first game, they came out and they played. It's not like, people just rolled over. Houston RSL was a great series. Like people who are complaining about the best of three being useless, I feel like have nothing better to do than complain about things that don't matter. I enjoyed it. I think there are ways you can change it and make it better. Like I mentioned, I think aggregate involved would make it more interesting. But how do you do aggregate over a three-game series is kind of tough, right? Do I like the? I've always, and I said this on the last episode too. I've always liked the two legs, right? Home and away, aggregate. make things matter. It puts the same amount of mind games in there. But does that mean I thought that best of three was stupid and useless? Absolutely not. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good setup. And again, it's the first time we're trying this. And the other thing I'll say is people always are talking about, they keep changing the playoff format. It's always one thing after the other, change, change, change. Every 2 years, we've got another four teams in the league. You have to continue to find the right ways to get this done. So we've talked about how many teams are getting in. It is what it is. By the time we hit a certain number, it'll make more sense. I think the best of three is good. It could be better, but I don't hate it. I think it adds a different level of approach and mind games to it. But stop complaining, people. Just enjoy the games. Like if you watch a game, it was like LAFC 5-2 versus Vancouver, and you're like, oh my God, that game was so stupid because it didn't even matter. You're watching the game for the wrong reason. Like you're not you're wasting your time and energy and whatever else you're putting into this because you're going in there with the mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna hate on this no matter what happens. Like enjoy the game. I thought it was good. I had a good time with
Yeah, I don't think we should forget that, other major American sports leagues have also changed their playoff systems recently. The NBA added playing games, MLB added that second wild card team and a wild card game in. Like those are recent changes. That's not like stuff that happened 20 or like 15 years ago. This is like stuff that's pretty recent. And yes, MLS is changing their system more often than those other leagues, but to the exact point that you made, no other league in the US, no other major sports league in the US is changing or growing at the same rate as MLS. Adding new teams in every year, constantly like growing the league, expanding. So I think it makes sense that they're constantly changing things up.
and it will slow down and steady out eventually. The league's not even 30 years old. Like you can't expect it to be perfect now. It just won't be. But if you're going in and like I mentioned, if you're looking at that Atlanta series, the Columbus Atlanta series, and being like, that was stupid, it should have been decided by game one, and we shouldn't have seen these last two games that were absolute barn burners. Go watch golf, dude. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like if you're looking for boring one off games that are decided by like one goal, I don't know what to tell you, man. Tennis is cool. Go watch tennis. Like
Don't you dare
yeah.
slander tennis. Don't you
I,
dare.
I started with golf and I'm like, oh, I know how to get this even better.
No.
Um, do you have your predictions in front of you, like the full bracket that you filled out?
Yep.
Do you have all of your final four teams in?
I have filled out my full bracket. So or do you mean just
Like, are
like
they are
did
they
I get
still
them all
alive?
right?
Yeah,
I have three of my final four in
I also have three. Which side are you missing?
West.
Me too. Which top or bottom?
Top.
Okay, I'm missing the bottom. So we'll have a little bit to talk about there.